All right, this week we are continuing with our discussion of code. Before we jump into talking a little bit more about CSS, I want to kind of talk about how HTML and CSS works together. So, thinking about how code works, I like to use, when we're talking about HTML and CSS, I like to use the salad model or the pizza model. So, if you think about a salad or a salad with just the lettuce that's your foundation, right? That's your HTML. Same thing with like a plain cheese pizza. That is your HTML. That's your foundation. And then your toppings, the things that make it prettier or add more flavor, that is your CSS. So I know that however silly that may seem, I like to use this analogy because I think it really helps you decipher the function of HTML and how that also relates to what CSS does to a plain HTML site. So if we look at this salad pizza model visually, to your left there, this is essentially what an HTML document looks like, very blocky, everything just kind of super simple and plain. And then when we add the CSS, that modifies whatever we have in our HTML document to appear a different way. So to the left, that's our salad or our cheese pizza, just our lettuce or our cheese pizza. And then to the right, we're adding the toppings, we're adding that flavor. It's going to give it a visual distinction. All right, so again, thinking about how code works, if you're looking at, this is an example at the top here of HTML. So this is what your basic HTML plain structure looks like. And then to the right there, very simple, black left aligned. We got our bold heading, we got our paragraph text. So this is what a plain HTML document looks like. Uh, Very plain, right? Very plain, nothing super excited about it. Now, when we add a CSS file, when we link a style sheet, we can do this, right? We can make the background blue, we can change the color of this. So essentially, the way this works is, whatever you have in your HTML, your CSS is talking to this. So for example, this is the body of our HTML, and we're saying that we want the background color here, the body, to be light blue, so that they're syncing up and talking to each other. Okay. So when HTML and CSS are read on the internet, you see the visual characteristics the visual characteristics that are generated. All right, so again, thinking about front end versus back end. So when we think of front end design that focus solely on the design and the usability of the interface, front end designers, they usually do wireframes, prototypes, and they prototype the interface while also forecasting how the user will interact with it. So they are usually preparing that XD prototype. Like, this is what it would look like, and this is how it would work. And whoever's doing the back end, most likely your developer, this is the person that's taking the front end files and working their creative magic with the code. They're doing the coding and development, and they're taking your visual files and plugging in the code that generates the visuals on the internet through the coding. So again, a closer look at tags, just a friendly reminder. This is our HTML tag structure. And again, we saw this earlier in the HTML lessons, just a basic structure of how basic HTML structure looks like. We always have our HTML tags indicating that this is an HTML document. We have our body tags indicating this is where the body of our page starts. And anything within the body is going to be your visual. So you can easily have things in this area of your HTML that won't be visual, that just tells you information about the web page or website itself. But everything within the body will be visual. All right, HTML, common tags. Again, these are ones that we've discussed in class. Our headers, div tags, span, we'll elaborate on those a little bit more. But these are examples, right? So this is what the HTML looks like, and then to the right, this is what it visually looks like. Again, text formatting, these are tags that I will share with you in class. Images. So when you're thinking about image tags, I will also share these with you, but your image, that's your basic element. Your source, where it's coming from, where it's pulling the image from. Alternate text, if you're setting the height and width of an image, if you're setting the alignment of the image, these are different attributes that you plug in with your image tag to give it specific settings. Okay, links formatting, so list formatting, ordered lists, unordered lists. We talked about those previously. Thinking about links, our basic Ahref link is anchor text for your link. For example, if you have a navigation area on your website, these are all going to be individual links that link to whatever pages you're going to. So thinking about CSS, and this is something we're diving into a little more. This is what we call a CSS rule, and we'll dive a little bit more specifically in our CSS lessons. But essentially, you have what is a selector, which will be saying, "Hey, this is what part of the code I want to select," and then your property will be what you define to that selector. So what we're doing. So what we're modifying, and this is the modification that we are making. So again, lots of different CSS selectors. CSS can control anything from color, font size, font family, to position, display, padding, margin. You can do color and opacity, borders, just kind of giving you a little preview. So CSS actually works on what is the box model. And the way that works is, think of like a fence and a house, right? So if your content is your house, you have your fence, which is your padding, or your yard, sorry, which is your padding, and then you have your fence, which is your border, and then you might have a sidewalk or a road around your house, which would be the margin, right? Thinking about these different layers that protect your content and can modify your content. So all the ingredients coming together, again, just getting used to looking at these split screens of code. To the left, this is my HTML. To the right, this is my CSS. So I'm modifying in the body, just the page area. I'm modifying the color of the page. I'm centering all the content on the page, and I'm modifying my margins. So that's just an example of, this is the selector, and these are the properties that we are applying. And the whole thing is called a CSS rule. Again, just kind of getting used to seeing this. It's our HTML. And then if we're modifying columns, so if we're modifying column 2, there's column 2 in our HTML. We would know what we are modifying where. Right, so that is just a quick kind of review of how those things work together. And from here, we will go forward and talk more in depth about CSS specifically.